Hello once again, everyone. Greg Akagi with you, and we are from Xian, China, as we're wrapping up the Thursday afternoon festivities here on our first day in Xian. And our reports are brought to you by Kansas Corn, the Kansas Soybean Commission, and Kansas Farm Bureau as well. Joining us, Greg Krissek, CEO of Kansas Corn, and what a day. If the Terracotta Warriors, seeing them is not on your bucket list, and I don't know if it was on mine, but I can check that off most definitely. What a day it is to see one of the great wonders of the world.
You're right, Craig. It should be. I didn't know much about it prior to going today, and this is the capital, the ancient capital of China, from dynasties over 2,000 years ago. And so saw a variety of things today. In addition to traveling around Xian, which is a 12 to 14 million person population city in China, another very large one. Incredible amounts of construction continuing to go on. Just a population that will have lots of mouths to feed if we have the opportunity to supply them food, fuel, and fiber.
And just to give an example of that, the hotel we were at, the Grand Malaya Hotel here in Xian, 13 years ago they said this was all farmland, and you don't see one speck of ground. It's all built up around it.
Greg, I think they said it was cornfields, as a matter of fact. So, yes, and back to the population, basically in those 15 years, the population's doubled from 6.5 million to that over 12 million. And China continues, as we've been told through this week, with approximately, I think, 250 million people will be moving from the farms into the cities, looking to acclimate into urban culture and obviously be fed.
Well, and the reason why we're talking about that, we haven't had a lot of ag-related activities the last 2 days, but we've had a lot of ag activity at home. We're going to cover a couple topics with Greg, and one, as the days run together now, I think it was on Tuesday the announcement was made by the EPA concerning the renewable fuel standard, and other news about that as well.
Sure. It was the announcement expected for the 2019 RVOs, renewable volume obligations under the renewable fuel standard. Good news to the extent that, as they should, EPA maintained the law of 15 billion gallons of conventional biofuels, which is primarily ethanol, for 2019. However, unfortunately, it doesn't appear there was anything included, as we've been promised, to look at reallocating gallons that have been waived for small refiners over the past several months by Administrator Pruitt. Over 1.6 billion gallons of lost demand, which in turn means lost demand for corn and grain sorghum into ethanol in Kansas, which is very unfortunate, as is the fact that he sat across the table from us in Garnett at East Kansas Agri-Energy a couple weeks ago and said that would not happen in the future. And yet the proposal is not there for us to go through the process. And we continue to not receive the RVP waiver that has also been indicated would occur.
So what's the message you're giving to your growers out there with regards to, is there anything that can be done by the growers with response to calls or anything else they can do?
Well, we'll still stick with what we said in the meeting 2 weeks ago. We're mad as hell. Been lied to by Administrator Pruitt, and we will provide our comments at the appropriate time. This announcement of the RVO means there is an upcoming comment period. There should be a hearing as well. Don't know where that's going to occur yet, but as in past years, and will probably matter this year than we've been in past years about the way we're being treated, we'll make every comment and see what other activities we might have around hearings that are forthcoming on the 2019 RVO.
I found it interesting how aggressive the numbers were for your friends over in the biodiesel industry on the really aggressive numbers that came out of that announcement.
Yep, that should be good news for them. Again, sitting across the table, the administrator, he's not repeated it since, said he thought he could actually increase the 15 billion gallon conventional biofuels. I don't know how he does that, but if he thinks he can do that, we'll be all for it. And in the meantime, he needs to follow through and stop hurting us and start promoting biofuels.
as we are recording this, the Senate has not voted on the Farm Bill as of yet, so please take note of that as we discuss this. But the discussion in the Senate now concerning the Farm Bill, it looks like you've got almost 3 different spokes here of where this is going concerning amendments and concerning some amendments that may be blocked concerning Cuba as well.
Right. So, the effort to move the Senate Farm Bill through this week before the 4th of July recess, I believe, continues. There were going to be debate on a couple amendments that would somewhat restrict who can use or benefit from crop insurance, according to, in one case, means testing. Those are amendments that ultimately we think would weaken the program. Might be small slivers of producers that wouldn't be able to, in one case, be able to participate, but it still weakens the program. A very strong program, a very important program for Kansas producers. Both of our senators have been strong, and we appreciate their support of crop insurance. We believe they will fight for it and fight against these amendments. It does look like, since we have the benefit of being 12, 13 hours ahead of the debate, we get to see some of the news a little earlier, or at least we're awake to see it a little earlier.
Yeah, we're awake.
And it looks like there's negotiations about what is in the Farm Bill about Cuba, and I'm sure that's going to have to be addressed before we can move forward.
Yeah, and that's being done by Florida Congressman Marco Rubio, and then Chuck Grassley always has his limits on AGI, and he gets to bring up that amendment once again, too.
It's a long time, strong advocate for changing those rules, and Senator Roberts, as chair of the Senate Ag Committee, has been through, as he likes to say, been through this rodeo a number of times. So I'm pretty sure two titans of the Senate, Senator Roberts and Grassley, will find what they need to negotiate on that topic.
By the way, tomorrow we are going from Xian over to Chengdu, and then eventually to Guangzhou, and then eventually to Hong Kong, where the ag-related activities will pick back up once again. So we'll have more about that coming up here in later video updates. Greg, as always, a pleasure, and it's been busy at home, so we'll see how things come out.
Good folks at home are taking care of things. That's right.
And by the way, you can hear more about Senate Farm Bill comments coming up on the Kansas Corn Update that runs Saturday mornings on WIBW Radio. For Greg Krissek, I'm Greg Akagi. We thank you for joining us.